Unpopular opinion, I struggle with Juneteenth. We're not going to get into it because you don't
Oh
know that I'm going to say
Lord.
that. I struggle with Juneteenth. I do.
Well, I'm
Unpopular
from
opinion.
Houston, Texas, and popular opinion being from Houston and adjacent to Galveston, we celebrate it.
And rightfully
I
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it's apropos to do so. I definitely think that the country should be better educated on what the celebration is
exactly. That's
because
number
I do.
one.
Yeah,
Most people
because
are
it
not
definitely.
educated on what is the celebration of. My challenge is it is a very unique celebration for certain people to
Well,
me.
no, it's
You know what? I think it's crazy to, and again, we're not going to talk about this, but to have a holiday to celebrate the day we found out we've been lied to.
to celebrate the awareness of our real freedoms because
Yes,
had we
I
because
understand that.
eh, yeah, and I mean, I think it's worth celebrating because we can't truly share in the celebration of July 4th because we weren't free. It was
Right.
not
No,
true
I'm not
independence
saying
for
don't share in
us.
the celebration. My challenge is that is a day that we set up for celebration when literally it's the day that we found out somebody was lying to us that slavery had already
For
been
2 years.
abolished
Yeah, yeah.
years
Hmm.
prior. That's
Hmm.
crazy. That's what I'm saying. The actual what it is crazy to me. I'm not saying, oh, it's nothing to celebrate or acknowledge, but it
Oh,
literally
and
is the day we found out they had
yeah,
been lying that we had
it
already been given our papers.
I will say this. I thought that I would be going to an event that was predominantly black. But when I tell you the multicultural um, demo that was represented in Springdale, Arkansas, was a balanced diversity, it was
Uh-huh.
pretty impressive. Like it was really impressive. And I know for myself, somebody that grew up in a more diverse reality from schooling and all that, it felt really cool to see there was this collective celebration. But one of the things that the organizers said that was told to him was one of the white folks was like, "Is it okay for us to come? Is that okay with we don't want to be offensive."
Right.
What?
No, it's good they
You don't want to
asked.
be offensive?
Always ask. Yes, that's a good white. Always
Oh,
ask.
well. Well, listen, I thought it was beautiful. I think we need to do a better job at educating people. For those that are watching that have no clue what it is, Juneteenth is officially Juneteenth National Independence Day. It's a federal holiday in the United States celebrated annually on June 19th to commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. It was when the general made the declaration in Galveston to let them know, hey guys, you're actually free,
And you have been for a few years.
and you
Sorry,
actually
your owners
have
didn't
been.
tell you.
Yeah, we won, the Civil War was won, and you are actually free. But then what's, if you really go down in history and you realize that there was a lot of systemic stipulations that were put in place that
Hmm.
really made it unfair, because what then they put into place were rules of, if you are now free, that you can go back into enslavement or jail, because then they met. That's when the is it 16
Policing and all of
30?
that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
policing, yes, became
Hmm.
heavier, because if you are now free with no job, you were considered a criminal because
Hmm.
you were just existing without putting back into society, which was unfair because
Which
most
goes
people are
back
not
to
going to
me
be
saying we
hiring.
should strike lazy from our vernacular
Yeah.
because it has roots in we've been ingrained that if you are not producing for someone, you are worthless, you know?
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking to know of all of this. There was land that was distributed to freed, slave enslaved people, and it's a wild thing that that land then created stipulations where they knew that people wouldn't have the resources to tend to that land, so they're in these barters to where they have to give up their 40 acres and a mule, rent the land to take care of somebody else's property to use. And it was just
Yeah, that's all sharecropping and all that. But that is not what we came here to talk about this week.
Well, actually, I think it's a great segue into the
As
topic
a
today.
segue, okay, let me
Woo!
see you move into it. Let me see you move into our actual topic.
Listen, listen,
You about to
you
get my
so
skin boiling. I'm like, okay.
you about to, right, you about to piss me off. But listen,
Yeah, you about to piss me off.
beautiful people, there's a whole lot going on in the world. A
Mm,
whole lot. While
always.
in the middle of celebrating the Juneteenth, we then find out that our president of the United States had initiated a attack, if you will, on Iran. Unexpected, after literally saying, I'm going to give you a week to get some things in order, just unexpectedly, without congressional support, doing something that yet again puts our country and our world in danger. We're living in what many would call uncertain times. And it's scary for many. It's frustrating for many. It's weird for most because our faith is being tested. A lot of hard work has gone into us getting to the point that we're at now. And so it seems that having certain leadership that kind of moves as flagrant as it does, it just basically voids out all the work that had been done, that has been done up until now. A lot of people are in spaces of, I told you so. I tried to told you. So today's topic is how to regulate yourself in times of uncertainty. Now, it's not limited to just political issues because uncertainty shows itself in family situations, work situations, in various different spaces in our lives. And I think between both of our experiences and our collective learned wisdom, we might be able to help you out and provide some hope in between you finding your center in all of this. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you start, Eunice. And I hope you're not still pissed off about the Juneteenth conversation. 10 things my mama told me, that just fell. That book just fell. I think
Right.
mama's like, yeah, talk about it,
Here
girl.
we go. So, this topic for me is a daily project, right?
Woo.
Because, yeah, it's not just so much what happened this weekend or what may happen next week or, anything politically affiliated. It's just life every day. You have no
Life.
idea how that day's going to go. And if you have not figured out how to regulate yourself
Right,
every
right.
day, then you're going to have some challenges because when those curveballs come and those pitfalls and those obstacles show up because you starting out from a unregulated space, it's going to be harder to manage them. And
Yeah.
so I wanted to talk about how I insulate myself or isolate myself, however you want to say it.
I
I
like
used to be
insulate.
yeah,
That's
insulate, right?
nice.
I keep myself safe and warm and protected from a lot of the information that could make my brain just fire off and things that aren't going to be productive or helpful for me. But as a former television news anchor, my actual job was to wake up at the butt crack of dawn to tell everybody about all the worst things that were happening in the world every day, live at 5, 6, and 10. And so for me, I had to learn through that job, okay, I'm either about to be depressed or numb to the world by this career, by having this job. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I had to then start trying to figure out, okay, how can I regulate myself? Regardless of the circumstance, regardless of the stories, regardless of my coworkers, regardless of my family, my life, whatever. And so some things that have worked for me are what I wanted to share today. And I know you have some things, even just like with the breathing exercise we do before every episode, that helps to reset your nervous system. And people say words flippantly, but our bodies are created to heal ourselves. And We just aren't
Woo!
as
Come
versed
on.
into the breathing, how much we could, affect ourselves between breathing and reflexology and sleeping and nutrition. And so outside of you changing your entire lifestyle, right? Here are some things that I do that I have found help me. Stop watching the news.
Mm.
Now, as a former news person, when people would tell me they didn't watch the news, I would say, I understand, but it's also important for you to know what's going on. I changed my mind now. I changed my mind. I don't think you need to know what's going on, only because I don't think we were designed to take in a 24-hour news cycle from all around the world. Technology has now brought the entire world's news cycle to us 24/7. I think we were supposed to be outside touching grass. I think we were supposed to be outside taking walks and swimming
Yeah.
in the water. I think our bodies and our minds and our nervous system were created to be managed in a different way than they call it doom scrolling, sitting on your phone. And not only are you seeing everything that's happening in our country or other countries, you're getting all this information about people you've never met, their relationships, the ins and outs of their relationships, the challenges of their bank account, and you're just taking in all this trauma dumping all day. So limit your exposure to news cycles. You don't
Yeah.
need to know everything. They're not calling you to ask you for the war plan. They don't need your help. Just take a break from it. That's number one
Yeah.
thing I would suggest. I have not watched the news since I left the news. It's been over 5 years. So
Wow.
somehow, oddly, I know what's going on all the time because you can't escape it, right?
Well, you're
Number
also on
two,
TikTok.
yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
go
You can't
ahead.
escape it. Even if you're scrolling for fun, you're getting all this information. You're like, hey, I don't want a war, bombs. What? Why is this show? I don't want to know that. The other thing I do is when I wake up, I set my intentions for the day. And that's different than an agenda or a schedule. It's just, these are some things I could accomplish today. These are some things I could do today that will keep my energies focused on something that I would enjoy and that would make me feel better versus when my mind gets idle. And boy, once I ain't got nothing to do, I can make up some real shenanigans. I don't know who's gonna be the target, but it's like, what? Now that I think about it, another thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I try to wake up and set an intention for the day. This morning I did some yard work before it started raining. I went and filled my car with gas because, will I be able to do that again?
Mm-hmm.
It's just little things like that. Start getting ready for today with today's podcast, did some administrative stuff on Monday morning. And so far, so good for today. Today. I'll stop there. I'll let you add in something. I have a lot more, but
No, I
I'll
think you should
how do
keep
you start?
going.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
okay with it. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. The other thing is, I have dogs for a reason. Dogs are wonderful emotional supports, but there's also a serotonin release when you pet a dog. This is scientific, this is medical. And so, no, I got dogs because they're cute and fuzzy and sweet and calm and I just love dogs. I don't love everybody's dog, but I love my dogs. But it also adds a health benefit to me that if I'm not looking for my needs, if I'm not making sure my temperature is regulated, I'm making sure they're not too hot or too cold. I'm making sure I'm hydrated. I'm making sure they're hydrated. If I get a treat, they get a treat. Is it time for dinner? So it keeps me occupied in taking care of someone other than myself because uh, I live by myself and I don't have children. I also have plants. Man, it is something that makes me feel so great, even if a plant is in a struggle. If I can figure out how to get it in the right amount of light or the right amount of water or maybe some food, and that plant comes back. Now, a plant is gonna plant. You can kill a
Yeah.
plant, but if you leave it alone, you're gonna see it pop back up like you didn't get me. But something that you can get into that takes your attention off of yourself. Because what happens is when you are so focused on yourself, you're gonna find everything that's wrong, everything that's
Right.
bad. You need to lose this much weight. My hair ain't growing the way I wanted to. What are these wrinkles? My dogs always get excited when I do the podcast, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you have to take focus off of you and pour into something else.